The movie begins with a scientist explaining that something changed in the ant world after a meteor struck Earth. Since that event, their behavior has stopped feeling normal. They are no longer acting like simple insects driven only by instinct. It is as if they are following a new kind of intelligence. We then see a green ant enter another colony and poison its queen. After that, the entire black ant colony starts behaving in a completely different way. Normally, ants fight among themselves and stay divided, but now they suddenly begin working together. Instead of attacking each other, they focus on wiping out anything that threatens them, including creatures like mantises and scorpions. With their enemies being removed, their numbers begin rising fast. The story then moves to the Arizona desert, where two scientists arrive by car at an abandoned settlement. One of them is Dr. Ernest D. Hubbs, a seasoned entomologist who studies insect life. The other is James R. Lesko, a researcher whose experience with coded systems makes him useful for studying patterns and signals. Their mission is to observe the strange ant activity and figure out what exactly is happening. As they survey the area, they come across several odd pillars standing alone in the desert. Each one is only a few meters high, but they look unnatural, almost as if they were deliberately placed there. There is also a small mark at the top of each pillar. While Hubbs photographs them, ants nearby remain completely still, almost like they are studying the men back. A little later, Hubbs and Lesko find a dead sheep. Its body is marked with tiny holes, and the damage suggests the animal was eaten from the inside. Hubbs explains that certain ant species can become highly violent when their food source is threatened. Sometimes even a scent is enough to trigger that response. The two men continue to a nearby farm owned by the Eldridge family. Mr. Eldridge is already pouring gasoline into the ditches around his land, planning to burn the ants before they spread any further. Hubbs and Lesko try to warn the family and even show them an evacuation notice, but the Eldridges still do not seem to understand how serious the threat is. Around that time, their young relative arrives on horseback. Not long after, the scientists finish building their research station in the desert, close to the pillars. But even after 13 days, they still have almost nothing. The ants have stayed quiet, and the team at base is becoming impatient. They want results, not excuses. Then Hubbs gets an idea. While smoking, he realizes they may need to provoke the ants instead of waiting for them. So he and Lesko topple the strange pillars. That finally gets a reaction. The ants respond, and Lesko immediately begins recording their signals. After nearly 2 weeks of silence, they finally get their first real clue. That same night, the danger reaches the Eldridge farm. The ants move through the ditches and go after the family horse. The attack is so severe that the animal is left suffering, and Mr. Eldridge is forced to put it down himself. The family tries to fight back by setting the ditches on fire, but they are already too late. The ants have made it onto the roof, and soon the entire house is overrun. Realizing they cannot stay, the family abandons the farm and escapes in their car. Back at the station, Lesko explains how he is trying to understand the ants. His method is simple in theory but difficult in practice. Record their signals again and again. Compare those sounds to what the ants do and slowly match communication to behavior. He is basically trying to decode their language. While he explains this, the Eldridges are still on the road. Mrs. Eldridge, shaken and full of regret, says they should have listened to the scientists earlier. Then she notices ants crawling through her husband's hair. She panics and tries to knock them off, but the sudden struggle throws the car off balance. The vehicle crashes, leaving the family no choice but to continue on foot toward the station. But the station is no longer safe either. Ants disable the electric vehicle parked outside, and it explodes. Hubbs and Lesko rush to defend the area by spraying a yellow chemical to kill the insects. Before they can fully control the situation, the toxic spray spreads too far and reaches the Eldridges as well. The whole family collapses. The next morning, the two scientists step outside wearing protective suits to examine the aftermath. Lesko is disturbed by the sight of the dead family. Hubbs, however, shows almost no emotional reaction. What grips him is not the loss of life, but the ants' ability to shut down machinery. To him, that is the real revelation. As they inspect one of the bodies, they discover 3 tiny openings in a man's hand. Then, something even more unsettling happens. Ants begin emerging from those holes. A green ant appears first, followed by black ants. It is clear these creatures are no longer acting in any ordinary way. While collecting specimens, Hubbs and Lesko realize one member of the family is still alive, a young girl named Kendra. She is deeply shaken and passes out after seeing what has happened to her family. The two men take her inside the station. Once she is safe, Hubbs and Lesko argue over what should come next. Lesko believes Kendra must be taken away from the area immediately. Hubbs thinks the research matters more and does not want to interrupt their work. This moment makes the difference between the two men very clear. Lesko still reacts like a human being. while Hubs is becoming completely consumed by the mystery of the ants. Soon after, Kendra introduces herself, but when she sees live ants trapped in a test tube, her anger takes over. She cannot bear the sight of them after what they did to her family, so she lashes out and smashes the samples. Lesko quickly pulls her away while Hubs scrambles to disinfect the room and destroy the escaped ants. During that chaos, Hubs is bitten. The film then cuts back to the colony where the black ants begin passing the yellow poison from one ant to another. Any ant that touches it dies soon after, but they continue anyway, almost as if they understand sacrifice. One after another, they keep carrying the poison until it finally reaches the queen. But instead of killing her, it changes the outcome completely. The queen survives, develops immunity, and then lays a strange yellow egg. The following day, Lesko shows Hubs a visual chart based on the ants' transmissions. He has managed to convert their signals into patterns they can study, but the real meaning still escapes him. They can see that the ants are saying something, but they still do not understand the message itself. Around the same time, Hubs tells Lesko that Kendra will soon be taken out by helicopter. In truth, he is just saying that to keep the situation under control. No rescue is actually on the way. After spending more time with Kendra, Lesko learns she has nobody left. Her entire family is gone, and that makes him feel even more responsible for her. Not long after, Hubs shares a disturbing realization. The strange structures outside are no longer just sitting in the desert. They are actively turning the environment against the station. By reflecting the sun's heat back toward the building, they begin trapping the people inside under rising temperatures. In only an hour and a half, the heat climbs another 5 degrees, and the place starts feeling less like a lab and more like a slow burning trap. At the same time, the queen ant continues absorbing the yellow chemical the humans had used against the colony. But instead of dying from it, she changes. She begins producing a new strain of ants, weaver ants, that can survive the very poison meant to wipe them out. In other words, the colony is already adapting faster than the humans expected. When Lesko realizes no helicopter has arrived for Kendra, he decides to contact the base himself. But before he can get through, the ants sabotage the connection. The phone is destroyed and the station is effectively sealed off from the outside world. Meanwhile, Hubs is no longer in good shape. The bite on his hand has worsened badly, swelling up as the heat keeps building inside the station. The air becomes so unbearable that they are forced to keep the cooling system running just to endure it. Trying to fight back, Lesko develops a new approach. Since the pillars seem central to the ants' plan, he uses an intense sound blast against them. The noise is so strong it almost rattles the station apart from the inside, with glass nearly cracking under the pressure. Outside, the pillars start collapsing one by one. For a brief moment, it looks like the humans may have finally hit something important, but the ants quickly answer. Inside the station, one black ant starts chewing at a wire. Before it can finish, a mantis grabs and eats it, but that tiny advantage disappears almost immediately when a green ant attacks the mantis. The struggle causes an electrical problem and soon the station loses power. Once that happens, the air conditioning fails too, which means the heat crisis becomes even worse. Lesko's sound attack does manage to kill many of the yellow ants, but the colony's reaction is eerie. The black ants begin arranging the dead bodies. The next day, the pressure keeps rising. The pillars continue bouncing heat into the station, and the temperature grows even more extreme. Hubs starts burning up with fever and slips into a confused, unstable state. Kendra tries to help care for him, but he pushes her away. Then he notices a green ant on a shelf and becomes fixated on it. He attacks it wildly, smashing at it with complete obsession, as if destroying that one insect matters more than anything else around him. Kendra calls Lesko over, and by the time he arrives, Hubs appears to have killed it. Later, worn down by fear, exhaustion, and everything she has survived, Kendra asks Lesko to hold her. It is a quiet moment, but it shows how fragile the situation has become for all three of them. That night, Hubs becomes clearer again, and returns to thinking like a scientist. He tells Lesko that the only path left is to eliminate the queen. In his mind, she is the central control point behind the colony's actions. If she dies, the rest may collapse. He believes he has figured out where she is, and decides they should try to reach her the next day. Lesko, however, has become far less sure. He feels they are no longer dealing with simple survival, but with a contest of intelligence they may already be losing. At this stage, he is less focused on victory, and more focused on one hope: that the ants will answer his message. Then Kendra suddenly cries out. When the others look, they witness a desert rat being overwhelmed and consumed almost instantly. The speed of it is terrifying. It is yet another sign that the colony is becoming more efficient and more dangerous with every passing hour. Soon after, Lesko receives the ant's reply, and the meaning hits him hard. He realizes the humans are not just trapped by the ants, they are being studied by them. The response appears as a square with a smaller circle inside it and a dot at the center. Lesko understands it as a kind of intelligence puzzle. The ants are not merely replying, they are selecting, evaluating, and narrowing their focus. That central dot could represent the one individual they consider most significant inside the station: Hubs, Lesko, or Kendra. Kendra then asks Lesko the obvious but terrifying question. If the ants are testing them and trying to single one person out, what will they do once they decide who matters most? That night, she quietly leaves the station on her own and walks barefoot into the desert. Within moments, ants burst from the ground and swarm over her, and her screams make it clear she is offering herself up for a reason. Back inside, Hubs finally gives up on studying the ants and arms himself to kill the queen by force. Lesko tries to stop him, still believing communication may be the only real answer. But by then he realizes Kendra may have sacrificed herself to draw the ants away and buy them time. Hubs heads out anyway, delirious, injured, and obsessed, only to fall into a hidden pit where the ants overwhelm him almost instantly. Watching Hubs die confirms the truth Lesko has been resisting. The ants are always one step ahead, so Lesko puts on a protective suit, takes the poison, and goes straight into the colony himself. There, instead of finding victory, he finds Kendra alive beneath the sand. At that moment, everything becomes clear. The ants were never simply trying to wipe humans out. They had been studying them, testing them, and selecting who would survive. Hubs dies because he only believes in domination and destruction, but Lesko and Kendra are spared because the ants want something else from them. They want to reshape humanity and fold it into a new order. So in the end, Lesko and Kendra do not really defeat the ants or escape them. They survive because they have been chosen for the next stage of evolution. And the film closes with the unsettling idea that human beings are no longer in control of what comes next.